Hello and welcome back. Today's video is all about popular and somewhat hyped up makeup releases of 2019 that people have already forgotten about. These products were talked about quite a bit, tons of people reviewed them, and I really have not heard much of them since then. This is part of my old makeup week where I'm trying to focus more on older products, and I'm also trying to kind of bring to light the fact that things get hyped up and then nobody really talks about it anymore because we're always on to the next thing. Interestingly, most of these products actually overall got good reviews. However, they just didn't seem to be enough to at least stand at the test of time. There were other products by these brands that I do still hear people talk about somewhat, but yeah, these I saw a lot in reviews and first impressions and then no more. So yeah, let's just get into it. The only one that I actually own out of the products I'm going to talk about is the Naked Reloaded palette, and actually I really like this one a lot. This one out of the things I'm talking about probably got the most, I don't want to say negative reviews, but they were a lot of very so-so reviews. There was so much hype surrounding the discontinuation of the original Naked palette, and then they brought this palette out. This was at the beginning of last year. So much hype, so much craziness, and yeah, I don't really hear a whole lot about this palette. I personally really like it. I actually do like it better than the original Naked palette. I got rid of mine quite a while ago. I also think it's interesting that so many people were sad about that, at least on YouTube, but not that many people were still using their Naked palette, although I know a lot of people still love it and swear by it. But yeah, this died off pretty quickly. The next product is a foundation, and there were actually a lot of hyped up foundation releases last year. This one is the Anastasia Luminous Foundation, and most of the reviews I saw were actually on the positive side. After a lot of first impressions videos, I didn't really hear much about this foundation. I was interested in it at the time, but I decided to wait, and now I'm glad I did because, you know, I have really good foundations, and that's not something I want to have a lot of in my collection. And yeah, I haven't heard much about it since then, but if you do have it, do let us know. A brand that tends to get a lot of hype around their products is Natasha Denona. And the Sunrise palette came out last year, $65, and it was a lower price point for them at $65, where a lot of her palettes are $129 or even more. Now it seems like she kind of varies the size of her palettes that she releases quite a bit. This one I saw tons of people reviewing, and it just didn't seem to make it into anybody's favorites videos, or at least not that many people that I watch. I will say though, there are a lot of Natasha palettes that I do still hear people talking about. The gold palette, that one seems to have really stood the test of time, and I still see people talk about it and consider that one a favorite, although it just doesn't seem to be true of all of her palettes. I'm gonna kind of lump all of this together in one category, and that is most of the releases from ColourPop. Now, some of the things from ColourPop people are still talking about and hyped up on, particularly those monochromatic palettes. They released a lot of those in 2019 and they did very well, and I'm still hearing a lot of people talk about them, which really says something, and I just recently bought 2 of them. Now, they released some other palettes though that people have seemed to have forgotten about, maybe because they were using the monochromatic ones, including the California Love palette, and there was a Butterfly palette and several others. I honestly can't even remember, but I just know there were a lot because it seemed like ColourPop releases a new palette almost every week. But outside of the monochromatic palettes and the So Jaded palette, that one was very popular, and I'm still hearing people talk about that as well. But pretty much their other palettes came and went. Another foundation release that fell off the map pretty quickly was the Fenty Hydrating Foundation, kind of in the same vein as the Anastasia one. These more luminous, hydrating foundations geared more towards dry skin. Again, so many people reviewed this and did first impressions on it, and I don't see that many people still using that in their videos. Maybe it's because not a lot of people go for these ultra luminous foundations. Personally, I don't really either because I do feel like they can accentuate my lines and pores. I prefer more of a satin or matte formula. Perhaps that is it why these two didn't quite, you know, make it beyond their first 15 minutes of fame. I would still be curious to try this, but again, I would be a little worried it would accentuate my pores, so I'll probably stick more with matte foundations like I have been. But again, this really got a lot of positive reviews. Here's one from Juvia's Place, and I will say that a lot of palettes from Juvia's Place do stand the test of time because I still see people talking about some of their older palettes that have been out for a couple of years. But the Nomad palette, this was kind of their fall palette, you know, very warm, beautiful, definitely more on the neutral side. But again, I saw a lot of first impressions and reviews, and it kind of disappeared after that. Whereas some of their other palettes people are talking about more, although now they've released these mini palettes, you know, those are getting a lot of hype right now, but who knows how long that will last. This was interesting too because this they made smaller. So it was $15, but it was still 9-pan, similar formula and format to their other palettes, which is interesting because a lot of people had wanted that. I think a lot of us had said that Juvia's Place pans are just too large. You know, most of us, especially if we own a lot of eyeshadow palettes, we're never going to finish that. So, you know, I'd rather pay less and get less product because I know that I won't finish it. However, yeah, this one also kind of fell off the map, and I will say it is very pretty. And last up are those larger Norvina Pro Pigment palettes that are $60 each. There were so many videos about these palettes when they came out, and it was a back-to-back release of 3 very large palettes. One was more purple and pink, one was kind of more green and blue, and then other one was kind of more orangey warm. Interestingly, the reviews I saw were quite positive on these, but again, haven't heard much about them lately. I think it was because right after that, they also released several Norvina mini palettes. They released one just very recently, a couple of weeks ago, and then the first 2 they released right after they launched the 3 big ones. I think it was just too much, and people were just kind of moving on to the next one and then forgetting about the older one. Interestingly, a lot of Anastasia palettes, like more of their old school palettes like the Soft Glam or even the original Norvina, the Modern Renaissance, I still hear about those palettes. Those seem to be quite popular still among a lot of people, but yeah, these larger Norvina palettes, they haven't seemed to be a long-term, you know, hit. However, hard to say, you know, it's still only the beginning of the year, but yeah, after those first impressions videos, I didn't see much about them. That is it for this video. Obviously, I'm, you know, kind of generalizing a little bit here. Obviously, people have talked about these products in the new year in the last few months, but definitely not as much as other ones. And I think the whole point of this video is just to show that people tend to move on to the next thing so quickly in the beauty community that we don't even have time to enjoy one product before the next one even comes out. So let us know what you think. Do you own any of these products? Are you still interested in them? I'm actually still interested in a few of these, although I don't know if I'll actually get them. But yeah, let us know what you think. That is it, and thank you so much for watching.